Hey there, this is Bryan Beller at JamPlay.com, welcoming you to my series on learning songs by ear. 1, 2, 3. I've developed 6 steps that I believe will help you be able to learn songs by ear faster. Now, just think about it for a second. Why is this even important in the first place? I think it's easy as a musician to kind of get stuck in, lesson world and theory world and exercise world and scale world. It's important to know your scales and exercises and technique and all the rest of this stuff. But my view is that when you're on the gig and when you're playing with other musicians and when you're learning material, the most important thing that you have going for you is your ears. Most of the time you're going to have a gig and you're going to get assigned to learn a bunch of songs. Maybe there's charts, maybe there's not. Even if there are charts, you need to be able to recognize chord structures, notes, intervals, harmony, song form, all these different things that I'm going to go over in the 6 steps here that'll just make it so that it's easier for you, so it's not like this nightmare when someone gives you 15 songs that you have to learn in 2 days and you're like, oh my God, what do I do? And in the process of refining your ear, you'll actually become better acquainted with your instrument, I think. And when you get through that holistic process, you'll be a more equipped musician to be able to interact with your bandmates. And that's where the real payoff for ear training comes in, is when you're able to react to things on the fly. Let's just talk about my 6 steps for learning songs by ear here. I have them in order. The first one I would say is meter. I think a lot of times people sit down to learn a song without ever considering what time signature it's in. So I'm a big believer that you have to have the pulse of the song and the time signature before you can, even begin to start figuring out notes, licks, grooves, melodies, whatever. You need to know what you're counting. If you can't count through it, you're not going to be able to learn it efficiently. So that's number 1 is meter. And number 2 is pitch. When I say pitch, I mean key. What key is the song in? Because if you know what key the song is in, that's going to give you a tip-off as to what other notes are going to be in the scale or the run or the verse groove or the chorus groove that you're trying to learn. And inside in that whole world of key is intervals. If you're trying to get from one note to another, you've got to have little shortcuts to be able to figure out intervals between notes, intervals between chords. So that's a key. That's number 2. Number 3 is going to be the rhythm. When I say rhythm, I mean like the actual rhythm of the groove. Does it go da 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 or da 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 or ding ding da 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 da? There's a million different rhythms in the world, and that's a key part of identifying what it is that you're trying to learn. Probably even before trying to learn the notes, you should know how the rhythm matches against the actual meter, the time signature. So that's number 3. Number 4 is the harmonic context. What are the chords of the verse that you're trying to learn? What are the chords of the chorus you're trying to learn? How do they relate to the key of the song? This whole world, scale tones inside chord changes will give you additional insight into being able to figure out a bass line more quickly. Because you've got 12 notes, it could be any of them, right? But if you know what chord change you're in and what chord change is coming next, some of those notes are probably going to be eliminated right off the bat. You'll have an easier time kind of narrowing down on trickier stuff what the notes are that you're trying to find out. Then there's song form. We can talk about learning a lick and being able to execute it all day long, but if you don't know whether it goes in the verse or the chorus, and you don't know how many bars are in the verse, so you don't know when that next part's coming up, it's all meaningless. And this is actually a very important thing because this is the one that'll really expose you when you're playing with other people. You can have all the parts down and you don't know when the verse changes to the chorus, all the rest of the guys in the band are going to be like, oh, he blew that. And you're a bass player, so it's super important to have the form right because where you lead, others follow. And then finally, after you get all 5 of those things, then we get into execution. That's about taking all this stuff and then applying it to the bass guitar, putting your fingers in the right spot and dealing with all that, okay? When I say execution, I don't mean technique. I mean executing everything that you learned in learning a song by ear. So the way it works is that I'll go through the 6 steps in detail with you. And then after we do that, then we'll practice using the 6 steps, using genres that you're familiar with, some sound-alike songs, songs in the style of, just to, get you up and running using your ear and using your hands and getting this method together. Once we get past all that, Then we'll have a kind of a final exam, if you will, which will be one of my songs, which is a pop song that I wrote called Play Hard. And that I'll be moving pretty fast in that because, you know, we're going to be breaking this down to the extremely small component level in the first few songs that we do. And then slowly but surely we'll move faster and faster and faster until we get to that last tune where there's a lot of stuff going on, and I'll expect you to be able to, you know, keep up because you did the whole curriculum already. Like all lessons on JamPlay, this comes with a ton of supplemental content. You're going to get transcriptions and a lot of backing tracks, but don't cheat. Remember, this is a special series. This is learning songs by ear. If you just go and look at the transcription, you haven't learned a song by ear, you just read a transcription. So use that as kind of a guide after you're done, you know, learning your song by ear so that you can check it out and see if you got it right. So just making that very important point there to make sure that you get the most out of this series. What is it that you're going to need to really maximize your value in doing these lessons? What is it that you need to know coming in? Well, I would say the prerequisites are you really need to know some basic harmony. You need to know your circle of fifths. You need to know, like, if I say G major, what the notes of G major are. You know that there's you know, 1 sharp in G major, or if I say B flat major, that there's 2 flats in B flat major. Okay, that's the kind of stuff that I think is really going to help you know. You're probably going to need to know some basic, you know, notational theory in terms of like 8th notes, 16th notes, you know, rhythms, basic stuff like that. You're going to want to know some modes. We're going to get into modes, talk about Mixolydian mode, talk about Dorian, even Phrygian. So I think if you know your scales, you know your triads, you know your arpeggios, and you know your modes, and you know your basic rhythm stuff, I think that that's going to go a long way to helping you out and get through this and maximizing your value for learning songs by ear. When you're done, when you get through this whole thing and you've utilized the 6 steps and then you're like, you know, feeling pretty confident, that's when I'm going to invite you to go out and like use this on your favorite music. Because I mean, we're not here for exercise purposes. We're here because we want to learn songs. I mean, I started off when I was a kid because I wanted to learn Led Zeppelin tunes and Rush tunes and Metallica tunes and Pink Floyd tunes. I wasn't sitting there thinking, I want to know what a perfect fourth is. I could care less what a perfect fourth is. It's just a tool to get me to a place where I could, you know, learn my favorite music. So might I recommend the Aristocrats, which is a band that I'm in with Guthrie Govan and Marco Miniman. We're an instrumental rock trio, and we've got a lot of interesting stuff going on there. And I actually write my own material, and you know, I'm in a band called Dethklok. If you're into death metal, and I play with a guy named Mike Keneally who writes very, very eclectic pop and rock music. And there's all sorts of stuff out there. I mean, I just use this as an opportunity to pitch my own stuff because that's the kind of guy I am. But please feel free to go out and use this method on any music you see fit. It could be super simple. It could be straight up pop, R&B, jazz, metal, country, polka. I don't care. Whatever you like. That's the whole point, is just being able to have the tools to go out there and listen to a song and be like, oh, this is cool, I want to play this. Or more likely, a band leader will assign you a song and be like, oh God, I have to have this learned by tomorrow. So, this is Bryan Beller here, just giving you a quick introduction to the Learning Songs by Ear curriculum, and I hope you get into it, enjoy it, and get a lot out of it.